back to Check Out the Stat by your girl Treasure Wilson, aka Stat Baby. So today we're talking about the Nicki Minaj and Megan Thee Stallion beef, and we're going to talk a women's professional football team. But first, I got to give a shout out to our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. So with Underdog, you can earn money by making picks on your favorite players. You can try the app in California, Florida, Texas, and New York, and the list goes on. If you want to play along, go download Underdog Fantasy. Use code TREASURE. They'll match your deposit up to $100, and you'll get a special pick. So first, we're talking about two Kansas City teams today, but let's do our Underdog picks. So we're doing the Super Bowl picks. As we know, February 11th is Super Bowl. The Chiefs versus the 49ers. Underdog Fantasy has Patrick Mahomes at 261.5 passing yards. So Pat Mahomes averages around 296 passing yards per game. I think it'll be a lot harder for him to pass this game, so I'm going to go lower. Travis Kelce is at 7 receptions. Personally, I think Travis Kelce is on his takeover mission right now. He already averages more than 7 receptions anyway, so I'm going to go higher for him. I definitely don't think he's going to let anybody try to get, this is his field for this game. And then Brock Purdy is at 12.5 rushing yards. So Brock Purdy will definitely pass before he rushes. I do think Kansas City is going to make this real difficult for him, but I'm going to go lower for rushing yards. I still think he's going to try to pass it regardless. So now let's talk about the women's Kansas City team. So did you guys know there's a women's professional football league? It's called the Women's National Football Conference, and it's the most advanced professional women's American football league in the United States. So their mission, they say they exist to accelerate equity for women and girls in sports through the power of football. There's around 900 athletes in 16 U.S. cities, and I'm all for learning something new. And in light of the Kansas City Chiefs heading to the Super Bowl, I want to give light to the women's Kansas City team. So let's introduce my Superwoman of the Week. So introducing my Superwoman of the Week, Maria Fautali, a running back on the Kansas City Glory. Maria, how are you today?
I am great. Thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
Of course, and I'm glad you joined the show. So before we get into you, your journey, everything that you're doing, being that you play for the Kansas City Glory, I'm sure the city is probably lit right now because you guys do have the men's football team going on to the Super Bowl. Has the vibe been different? Have you been paying attention, watching, or have you been doing your own thing?
Yeah, so I actually just got here to Kansas City a few weeks ago. I came from Pittsburgh area, so I got here perfect timing. Everything was kind of jumping as soon as I got here, but I haven't really been out and about on the city. I did notice everyone's got their Kansas City Chiefs jerseys on,
right?
Dinner, lunch, breakfast, whatever. They rock it all day, every day. So big fan base out here for sure.
Right. So what do you like better so far? You think you like Kansas City? I know it's been a couple of weeks, but Kansas City or Pittsburgh?
Something I've realized is that a lot of these cities are so similar.
Okay.
I was in Cleveland for a little bit too, and they all kind of have the same vibe to them. For me, the biggest restaurants are always really different, the food. So the barbecue out here is the thing. So that's the biggest difference is the food out here.
Yeah. Sounds good. I've never been out there. I might have to go try the barbecue because I haven't had a real barbecue like that. So that sounds good. Okay. And then also regarding the Chiefs, before we move along, I think we've seen all the attention around the Chiefs, Taylor Swift. How do you feel about the coverage that she's been getting? Granted that she doesn't play sports.
So I think that it's definitely one of those things. It's time and a place for everything. There's different platforms for different groups for different reasons. I love Taylor Swift. I don't really listen to her music, but I think that what she does for women and empowerment, I think it's great. So for me, I don't mind seeing her shown during the games and stuff. I think it's great because it gets young girls into football too. But when platforms like ESPNW or women's sports platforms are really just overdoing it, it can get a little frustrating for female athletes in general.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah. I definitely see you and I hear you, which is why I wanted to bring you on the show. So also along the lines of getting young women into football, you play football, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that there's a professional women's team. So how did even playing football come about for you?
So I ran track all the way up to college, ran through college, and then I started powerlifting. So I kind of have, at this point, developed like I was very athletic still. I was fast, but I was getting very strong. And I met a girl who I ran track with or against, and she played in the women's league. And she was like, "Oh, you should definitely go try out." So I found a team close to me, and that was when I was in Cleveland area and tried out. And that's kind of took off from there. So unfortunately, my rookie year got shut down due to COVID. So yeah.
Yeah. So can you take us through the journey, right? Because a lot of people, don't know that there's a professional team. I think some people might think like, okay, it's like a flag football. This is the real thing, right? So can you kind of take us through what it's like being on the field, what you have to do to prepare, all that goes into being a woman playing professional football?
Yeah. It's a lot of people think that it might be different from the men's league, but it's not at all. Besides, we don't have obviously the same facilities, resources. So it is harder for us when it comes to things like that. But we train every day, we practice every day, travel for games, tournaments in the off season. We probably play in a lot more off-season things, like how the WNBA has to as well. So that's probably the biggest difference. But the work that goes into it, and the focus on your body, your nutrition, everything, it's all the same.
Right. Okay. So how did your first tryout go? Can you take me through what you had to do? Like you saw it, your friend got you kind of interested in it and you tried out, you knew you were athletic, but like, what did it take to prove like, I got a roster spot. I can do this. What was that first tryout like?
It was definitely a humbling experience for sure. In track, it always came very easy to me, just if you're fast, you're fast. But when I got to that first tryout, it was actually in Vegas. It was like a showcase thing. And I'm looking around and I was like, I am so small. Like, I was like, I might have to get in the gym like twice a day now. But that was the biggest thing I noticed is that, just the size and the strength of these women is something that a lot of people have probably never seen. I mean, you see the comments from men like, "Oh, if I played in women's league, I could do this, I could do that." Because no, you wouldn't. If you see the girls, you would. So definitely made me step my game up and realize, it's like I can't just rely on my speed out here. I got to put on some size too. So I did that.
Okay, so you obviously talked about your speed. What kind of helped you get to that decision of becoming a running back? Because you could have been like, man, I want to be quarterback. Like what? Yeah. You kind of stem that decision.
So I have always kind of been a very reactive athlete. When I played basketball too, it was just things like that came very natural to me. My decision making was quick, things like that as well. So that was definitely a running back thing. And the coach there, when you first get into women's football, a lot of these women haven't been playing through high school or middle school like the men. So a lot of times a coach will take you, see what you can do, see what your natural abilities are, and they'll kind of put you where they think you should be.
Got it.
And that's kind of what happened to me. They were like, yeah, I think you're going to be a running back, put on a little more size and you'll be good to go.
So were you watching football prior, or do you feel like you kind of learned the game as you started to play? How did kind of like the knowledge aspect form?
I definitely learned it as I went. When I started playing is when I really started watching football heavily. I didn't watch it like that before, but I did realize that a lot of this concepts I could relate back to like basketball, if that makes sense. So I kind of just had to make things make sense in my brain as I was learning.
Got it. Okay. This might sound like a no-brainer answer, but I'm just curious. Do you like playing football or basketball better? And like, what do you feel like are the main differences playing?
Yeah, I like football a lot better. it's a lot more aggressive. You just kind of being out on that field, and especially in the running back position, you have to be so dialed in and so focused because you're taking hit after hit after hit, and a lot of people, they take that first hit and their mind starts to go everywhere. Like they forget where they're at. And I love that feeling of just like learning how to really focus in and be in the moment. So that's one thing that I really love about football is how much it's taught me to just be in the present moment and just be an athlete.
Right, that's dope. Definitely takes you to a different headspace, I feel like. So
For sure.
Haley Van Boris became the first female non-kicker to play in an NCAA football game. And then now we see Steph Curry will play Sabrina Ionescu in a 3-point contest. So there's been a lot of women-men crossovers, right? Is there any professional player out there that you feel like you could outplay? Like, is there any man out there that you're like, you know, it'd be so easy?
I mean, so I'm also a strength and conditioning coach. So I train men and women. And I will admit, like, there is such a big difference in men and women's strength.
Yeah.
Like, I will never sit here and say, like, there's not. But I think that, like, if I had a good line, like a good O-line, which I do right now, but I think we could keep up with them for sure.
Okay.
I'll run outside every time. Like, I'll use my speed.
Yeah. I asked because I feel like that'd be an interesting thing to see, especially after seeing how Haley Van Boris did it for the NCAA team. So I'm like, because a lot of things are happening, so you never know. So you're saying you'd be up for the challenge?
Not if it's full contact. I'm not trying to get tackled by no man. But I think I would do flag, and I think it'd be cool with that. Yeah. So.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. I get it. So what do you feel like is a common misconception people have about you, your teammates, other players, and then just women in general, you know, playing football?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is that they always assume we play in the lingerie league.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I didn't realize how popular that was until I started playing tackle football. And that's the first thing people guess is, oh, you play lingerie league.
Right.
I'm like, no.
Right.
So I would say that that's probably the first misconception, but.
Right. Yeah, it's good to clear that up too, because I think people, you know, like those posts have been going viral on social media, but it's like there is a difference. You can still respect them, but like we are not doing the same thing. So
for sure.
I get that. Yeah. So do you have a lot of international teammates? Do you feel like a lot of teammates are from in-state? I kind of want to know how that process works because I know you moved from Pittsburgh and then you were playing on the Pittsburgh team and then you came to Kansas City. So how does that kind of work? And then do you have other players from all over?
Yeah. Since the sport's been growing, people have been able to move around a lot more and try out for different teams. Our team specifically has a lot of international players. They just started rolling in the last few weeks as well. We have a couple from Brazil, Sweden, all over the place. And they come here for the season and then they normally go back home and train. So for me, it was kind of like, I'm young and I have the opportunity and the ability to move around and make those decisions. So I'm lucky in that sense. And it's given me a lot of good opportunities for sure.
Dope. So I know you said you're young. What's like the average age of people on your team? What's the youngest you've met and the oldest?
It's a huge age range. It was actually one of the most surprising things for me coming into the league. One of the youngest, I would say probably 19, 20. I'm 25. I would say the average age is like 33, 32, 33. And I mean, I've played with a woman who was in her 40s and could ball.
Wow.
Like I'm talking ball. Yeah.
Wow.
So I think a big part of it is because we haven't been playing football since middle school and high school.
Right.
So we have a little longer lifespan in pro football. So
that makes sense. Yeah. So since there's obviously contact, have you ever had like a super like scary situation, like too much? Like I'm trying to know like what range it's going to, you know, like do you have a story that you can share?
So last year would have been my second year in the league. And unfortunately the second game I had a season ending injury. I broke, I don't know if you can see it, but
I can see it.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Wow.
I broke my humerus bone. It was a pretty gross injury,
Hmm.
and it was rough. But the worst part of it was I had a radial nerve palsy for
Mm.
like 5 to 6 months. So I couldn't move my wrist or my hand for 5 months.
Wow.
So I'm like 8 or 9 months post-op right now. So
Wow.
we definitely, that's a big thing. Like, it's a big con, we kind of put our body out
Yeah.
there for not a huge reward,
Hmm.
people, financially, but it's just the love of the game.
Yeah. So you love the game. You did get injured, and I'm happy that you are feeling better. But kind of like
Thank
you
you.
said, there's a little bit of a con. So what are some things that you would want to see either change in the league or just, people in general who are watching you guys or not watching you guys? What's some things that you want to
Yeah.
see change?
So, definitely like the media presence for us, but my biggest thing is shifting the way that we're people talk about women's sports and
Hmm.
female athletes. So I noticed, especially in the last couple of years, that when people talk about us or when we get that presence or platform, it's in the basis of they're an inspiration to young girls.
Hmm.
Um, it's always that,
Right.
you're an inspiration, you're pushing forward, you're breaking glass ceilings. That's always what it is. But I would love for us to be able to get to the point where we're talked about in the media as athletes and not just female athletes.
Right.
So I want to hear about our stats, what games are coming up. These players are making these moves and free agencies and stuff like that. Just like you talk about the men.
Right.
I think that would be the biggest change that could kind of push things forward for us for sure.
Right. And it definitely starts with more exposure as well. Cause I'm like, I think
Yes.
it's super dope. And that's why I was like, I need to know more. So I really wanted you to come on my platform to share. And hopefully that change can start happening. The more that people find out, the more that people take the time to pay attention. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it definitely is getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you saw it and you were interested in it,
Yeah.
and just like you giving us a platform
Yeah.
for someone like me who's in the space, that's huge. I
Yeah.
mean, things like that.
Yeah. So, what are your specific goals going into this season? When's your first game? What can we look forward to from you?
So this is kind of like my comeback season,
Mm-hmm.
from my injury, and my rookie season. I had a great season, so there was a lot of potential there, and now I think there's even more with the way I've been training my rehab and in the off season.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely want to come into this year making a huge statement. The team as well. The Kansas City Glory got a lot of new recruits, a lot of new players. Great free agents came in. So there's a lot of eyes on us,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that we're definitely gonna make a statement. So I'm really excited to see it for sure.
That's dope. That means it's your time. So you don't even got to be humble about it because it's like it's your comeback season. Y'all are ready. So I'm excited to see what you guys do. So my show is also all about women empowerment. Is there a specific woman that you look up to or any women out there that you want to shout out?
So my coach, Kiki, she is amazing. She has been in women's football for a long time. She was a player. She played on Team USA, which I don't even know if people know that the women's national football team won gold medals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so crazy.
Right.
So, and she's done a lot for the community and done a lot for this team. So huge shout out to Coach Kiki. She's doing some amazing things. So
See, super dope. Shout out Coach Kiki. So before we wrap, is there anything else that you'd like to add? Because I want to make sure that you got your message and your statements across. I asked my questions, but is there anything that you really want people to know and kind of leave off with?
I would say that I think that women's football is definitely going to be making a huge growth spurge in this next year, this upcoming year. And I just really encourage people to not only watch the sport, but also talk to their daughters or their cousins, sisters, whatever, about the sport as well. Because overall, it's just women's empowerment, showing that we can do things that people thought only men could do. And also just thinking about how you speak to female athletes and about female athletes, because coming from like a mental health aspect, it can get very draining and exhausting no matter how much you say, you know, I can handle it, I have thick skin. But
Right.
as a female athlete, it can get very, very discouraging. So just kind of think about how you speak to and about them for sure.
I think that's a great message, and I understand you. I appreciate you so much for being here, Maria. Where can people follow you, your socials, and continue to follow your journey and see your highlights and see your game?
Yeah. So you can check me out on mostly Instagram. It's Maria Fatali. That last name is Fautali. And TikTok as well, Maria Fatali 4. And also Kansas City Glory on Instagram. Our schedule is on there and where you can watch our games. So definitely check us out this season.
See, super, super dope. Maria, thank you for being here. And on that note, we'll be right back.
She called this thing about toxic. 4 years and counting. Got you feeling like an option. Maybe I'm my own problem, babe. She tired of hearing I don't know. What's stubborn in me won't fall. Dealing with this thing called trust. But she really thinking about it. Wanna be free. Why am I in this woman wanna be free? Hell, I don't wanna see her walk away. I wish somebody told me the rules. Disagreements let her win, then it's cool. Even when I'm right, this ain't about.
Welcome back. Now moving along to the crazy things that have happened this week. Ain't no way the queen of rap, Nicki Minaj, is beefing with Megan Thee Stallion. I'll call her Queen Hot Girl because she did make the song, and that was the song of the summer. So yes, Queen Hot Girl. So I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I don't know where the background stemmed from, where it started. Nicki Minaj and Megan Thee Stallion used to be great friends. You know, they hopped on tracks together. They were hanging out. But then at the beginning of January 2024, or at least from what we've seen, things got real sour. And not just between them. I feel like things have gotten sour between everybody, right? So not too long ago, Megan Thee Stallion dropped a diss track named Hiss. Not gonna lie, little good tune. I think it's better than her other song because this is just more my vibe. Her other song definitely talked about the dark place that she was in, her depression, a lot of the things that she was going through because, you know, people weren't really feeling Megan Thee Stallion after the whole Tory case. A lot of things were happening, a lot of things were going on, but she has still continued to drop music. So in her song, Megan Thee Stallion said, "These hoes don't be mad at Megan. These hoes mad at Megan's Law." You would think, okay, what does that really mean? So the background, what is Megan's Law, right? Megan's Law is named in honor of a little girl named Megan who was raped and murdered by a neighbor. It was a very tragic and sad case. That neighbor was convicted a sexual predator, and he had previously assaulted 2 other young girls. So the question was, why was that line dropped in Megan's song? So here's the thing, right? Nicki Minaj may have had some type of run-ins with that type of situation because her husband, Kenneth Petty, is a registered sex offender, right? So a lot of people didn't correlate the two, but people are saying, mind you, Megan never confirmed that this line was about Nicki. And Nicki's husband, you know, went through a lot of things. And he is a registered sex offender, and he failed to register as a sex offender in California, right? But like I said, Megan never confirmed or denied anything. But Nicki's response said it all, right? Nicki then tweeted on X, "Megan's Law, for a free beat, you could hit hashtag Megan Raw." So it kind of confirmed maybe that line was about her husband. So Nicki Minaj went on a whole rant, not just on Twitter, on live, on almost every social media platform. So you guys should have seen some of this beef stirring. And if you were just as confused, this is the story of what's going on. So Nicki Minaj then tweeted, "Y'all want to bring up family members and lying on your dead mother? You lied to Gail. You lied and messed with your best friend's man. told me to drink and go to the clinic if I was pregnant, all because I wouldn't let your funky butt pour liquor in my throat. She said, be mad at party. He told all your tea, but you're taking shots at my family? Get up on your good foot. She went on a whole rant, keeps going, ha ha ha, I don't care. If the blogs and paid bots was real, y'all would have been able to sell albums and headline tours. Clearly, Nikki was pressed. Nikki was real mad. And all Megan did was drop one line in a song, right? And Megan's been going through a lot. Nikki's been irritated with a lot. So it just all kind of blew up in everybody's face. So Nikki didn't start there. She does call herself also Queen Petty. She can be petty and she don't care. She came back with the diss song called Big Foot. And it's a whole diss at Megan. It gets real specific, talking about everybody that she has been with in the past. She starts name dropping things. And the line that went viral was bad chick. She like 6 foot. I call her Big Foot. She fell off and I said, get up on your good foot. You know, her little Roman voice. Nikki does that thing, her little Dungeon Dragon Roman's voice. And that was kind of the line that circulated. That was the line that we all saw. And she kind of leaked it before the song dropped. So we're like, okay, what's Nikki talking about? What's really going on? Then the song dropped and a lot of people were disappointed because they felt like it didn't hit. When the song dropped, we noticed a lot of the lyrics she had already tweeted out on X. So we, 1, saw the lyrics, 2, she leaked the music on her live, and 3, she kept talking about her frustrations on Instagram, on X, on live. It just kept going. And we were like, dang, Nikki, we already knew he was the queen of rap, but we didn't think he was going to be that pressed about it. But clearly she was, and it hit a spot that you probably shouldn't hit with Nikki. But also, Megan kind of handled it a lot more gracefully. You know, she dropped her song. She posted her filming the music video for it, posted it of her looking cute. Never addressed Nikki through it all. Now, at the end of Nikki's song, because it just keeps going, it doesn't stop there, and it can never just stop there. End of the song, she starts whispering, right? She's not even rapping no more. She says, and I'm going to do it in the Nikki voice, right? Just so y'all can get the full experience. She said, since you think it's funny to speak about people's families, we'll all join in. We'll all play the reindeer games. Soon as your new nose heals, and soon as your... Well, let's leave that for the second installment. And that is what Nicki Minaj had to say. Megan Thee Stallion still has not responded. And the beef is only going to continue because as y'all heard her, she got a second installment. Now, the thing about it, for Nikki, I'm not going to lie. I expected better because I didn't think she was going to be that pressed. And it's kind of bothersome to see somebody who is established as the queen of rap being that pressed about a one-liner. But I suspect the beef will continue. Y'all know Nicki Minaj is going on tour soon. I didn't agree with a lot of things that were said because I just think that there are some things that is crossing the line and off limits, and talking about somebody's dead mother is one of those things that I definitely think is off limits. So I don't think this friendship will ever rekindle. But my question to y'all is, do y'all want to hear the second installment? Because I don't. I think it's a lot. I think it's a mess. I think the song was a mess. And it's just a lot. It's a lot to process. But let me know what you guys think. So now we're going to get into Tell Me What's Up, because the stats wouldn't be the stats without questions and answers from you. And you guys wanted me to discuss Angel Reese. Angel Reese is always going to be a trending topic, y'all. And I try my best to stick up for her. I always will hold people accountable. But I do think some of the things people are saying, I'm like, it's not like she's playing that bad. So as we know, South Carolina did defeat LSU and they remain undefeated and they are still on top. And shout out to them girls because they have been killing it. But I know people are saying, you know, Angel Reese hasn't been playing so well. She's the star. She has to take accountability, which she does. She knows she's going to have to be the one to pull her team together because she's Angel Reese. But looking at her stats, right? Among the women power forwards, she's first in 20 points and 10 rebound double-doubles, second in 20 point, 10 rebound double-doubles versus power 5 teams. She's one of 2 power forwards averaging 19 plus points, 10 plus rebounds, 2 assists. And honestly, her stats go on. she's been doing pretty good. You know, everybody's going to point fingers at her because she is Angel Reese. She's in the spotlight. She's no longer just a women's college basketball player. She is now famous. And that's what happens with fame. And I get that. But I ain't going to talk about Angel if she's actually playing well, okay? Like, I understand she got her little boyfriend. She's in college. She can do that. But she's still performing well. Now, I will say LSU does have to get it together. They've been losing a couple of games. And, you know, I think we had them at this pedestal and they've dropped down to kind of like 10 rankings. They are better than that. They are a better team than that. And I think that they can get there. But collectively, the team is going to have to do better. And it's not going to be all just on Angel. She's a big part. Don't get me wrong. But based off the stats and what I've seen, she is playing her part. So I'm not going to put all the blame on her for that. But that is it for today's episode. Y'all can hashtag check out the stats so we can continue the discussion next week. And maybe your question or take will be featured. Thanks for hanging out with me and checking out the stats. I'll see y'all next week.
Two Big Macs, like when they doing them 2 for $5.